Think of your favorite movie. There's always an action bit first, whether it's actual physical action or an emotional action or thought action, whatever. There's something that happens first, and then we go back in time and learn more about the character and the situation and the context. I've seen it my whole life. You have too. But I read about it in a book called Make Noise by Eric Newsom years ago, and it stuck with me. He planted that thought in my head, and I cannot get rid of it. Hello and welcome to the third season of Podcast to Connect, where we are sharing ways for you to grow your audience by looking at your greater media presence and so much more. I'm so excited this season to be joined by April from Dorky Podcast. In this particular conversation that you're going to hear today between April and myself, I'm helping her reorder her already engaging and value-heavy social media posts. And remember, all of the 8 episodes this season will have a free worksheet to help you do the things that I'm doing here with April. We're talking about it here, but the worksheets will help you work through it on your own. Podcasttoconnect.substack.com is where you can find the companion worksheets, as well as weekly audience growth tips, whether we're in season or not. We're going to jump straight into this conversation because when I say action first, I mean it. I've been torturing you with my nudge, nudge, nudge. I spy something that could be massaged, possibly better, more engaging, that kind of thing on your social media. I said marketing challenge.
Yes.
If you wanted to start this post with the main exciting action moment, what would it be? This is a tweak that I think might change the emotionality of any of your posts that you want to have it. Because there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of fear or triumph or inspiring moments, or there's a lot of emotions in the moment that you pick and share on social media. But that, for especially that first sentence, doesn't always have that. It gets that at the end. Is it possible for you to read off the post so folks know what we're talking about?
Of course.
Okay.
I said, in March of 1917, Russia had fallen into full revolution. Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate his throne, and a provisional government was formed. The Romanovs were put under house arrest. Their people revolting and the entire family being put under house arrest didn't seem to worry the Romanovs. My question is, why not?
Yeah. And I love that question. And I know you were building to the question, but I feel like there could have been more of that in the beginning, which is why I asked the question. So what are your thoughts so far on my question?
I guess I'm just not sure how I should have worded it so that it could have, yes.
Yeah.
Could have worded it. Because, I probably don't need to build up quite that much.
Annoyingly corrected you when you said should have, to try to instill that there's no set formula that you have to do. It's a choice. It's a what have you. It's like an experiment kind of thing. I never remember the name of the book, but I'll put it in the show notes. There's a book where the author talks about storytelling in audio, and he talks about in the movies when you never start the movie at the origin story. If you think of like action movies, especially action and horror movies, because I do love horror movies, they start at an action moment and then they go back and fill in the gaps here and there.
Okay.
And so I was thinking of that in social media form as well, because I'm like, this is a pretty intense moment that you're talking about. And your question at the end is amazing. But what if you could pull a little bit of it up to the top so that it starts with the action, then pauses for the background, then gets to your really good question?
Okay.
Like, what if we did that?
I think that would be good.
How could we do that? Like, what would you pull up to the top for that initial part? I mean, like a punchy moment to start it off out of the stuff that you wrote. Because I think it's all there. It's just a matter of maybe reordering it to have the emotionality at the beginning. I don't even know if emotionality is a word, but I want it to be. Okay. What action moment that has a lot of emotion in it could you pull up to the top to start?
I was thinking, and I'll highlight it, this sentence right here, where it says, their people revolting and the entire family being put under house arrest didn't seem to worry the Romanovs.
Ooh, I think you're onto something. But what if we make it even more mysterious and say, what if you say this? Being put under house arrest didn't seem to worry them, just to get a punchy beginning
I
that gives
understand.
kind of a flavor of what's coming.
Yeah.
That means we'll have to remove it when we get down here.
Yeah.
But just to kind of like pull the action up to the beginning. And now you can backtrack and tell them some more. In March 1917, Russia had fallen into, yeah,
Okay.
Romanovs were put under house arrest. And now how do we change this? Because we don't want to repeat this.
How about my question is, why didn't they seem to worry or something to that effect? I mean, all of that is really concerning,
Yeah.
and they should have been. They
Yeah.
should have been worried.
Yeah. Okay, so house arrest.
Why? Why didn't any of this worry them?
What do you think?
Being put under house arrest didn't seem to worry them. In March of 1917, Russia had fallen into full revolution. Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate his throne. Provisional government was formed. The Romanovs were put under.
Oh,
I think that this should say the Romanovs,
mm-hmm.
just so that it's more clear who I'm talking about, since that's like the first sentence. But
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, I really like it. Yeah.
I deleted the revolting thing, the people revolting, which, where do you think that could go back in? Because that does feel like a key element.
Because it says Russia had fallen into full revolution. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's perfect.
Okay.
That right? Like I feel like that.
Yeah. Or, oh, why did it go so tiny? What? I think it's agreeing with you that it doesn't need to be in there. Yeah. Yay or nay? Is that too much?
Yeah, I do.
Too much? Okay.
Yeah, and the Romanovs.
Back.
And how about the entire Romanov family were put under house arrest instead of the Romanovs were put under house arrest, all of them? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. We're put under house arrest. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that the beginning part then, you can do either the Romanovs or you can do them, depending on how mysterious you want to be. So yeah. So on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you already know this, but you've got a little bit of time, maybe a line and a half before this see more thing comes in.
Yes.
And so I was thinking, if you wanted to be kind of mysterious in it, that the first sentence here could be just with them, and people would be like, who is she talking about? And it would get them to press that read more instead of knowing everything up front.
Okay.
You could do either way. You totally could do either way. Because I know you want to get people who'd be interested in the Romanovs to see it in the beginning.
I'm not sure when to be like very clear and when to be, you know what I mean? Like, because I think it would work either way. I could see how
it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just depends on how playful or how teasy or how what your mood is that day or with that bit of information.
Right.
And I wouldn't do it the same way every time because we don't talk the same way every time. We talk about everything. So absolutely let your energy about that post lead how you do it. But I just wanted to show because like I love the like the build up and the ending. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but some of that could really go in the beginning. And by I mean good.
Yeah. No, I think
could go in the beginning. Yeah.
I think this is a much better post than what I had.
Are you being kind or do you mean that?
I mean, like it's more concise and it's just a better social media post. I mean, I don't think that like what I put was bad, but I think this is better. This is way better, honestly.
Okay, but you're still focusing on the conciseness, and I'm trying to focus in on the pulling the action forward. No, I'm not complaining. I'm sorry. For those of you that can't see this, but April just like leaned forward, like holding her head. No, that is not what I wanted to happen.
Oh God.
No, I'm worried about making myself clear because this is hard to describe. But the main thing I want to entertain that you could do when you want to, not all the time, not for every post, but when you really wanted to, is to pull the action or the emotions forward and then backtrack and fill in the details and then get to like an engagement moment.
Yeah.
That you can pull the emotions forward. Because to be quite honest, humans are driven by emotions.
Yeah.
Even if they're backed by facts and history and stories. Well, stories are mostly, facts with emotions. There we go. That's the title of this episode right there.
I like it.
Yeah, so pulling those emotions forward will help people kind of know what's coming in that regard. And it may engage them more. It may not, depending on the post.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my whole Hawking moment yesterday that I teased you with in WhatsApp. And you're like, well, what about this? And I'm like, tomorrow.
I like it though. I do think it's a better post because it does show the emotionality, but it is also more concise. Like it doesn't say the same information twice. It kind of puts it into one thing.
Yeah.
But it does pull. And I never looked at it as like an action but yeah. Sorry, that's not very articulate.
Yes, it is. Oh, please, you're processing it. I mean, geez, I read the whole book that this man wrote that I can't remember the name of and still had to sit there and think about it. And you're like doing this on the fly. and here's the thing with all of these things that I keep throwing at you on and off the mic, they're all tools in a toolbox. You wouldn't use all of them at once. You wouldn't use the same one over and over and only that one. Like they're just for different ones for different days that you can but don't have to use. So the main thing, like my main goal in doing all this with you is to have you sound like you more. If doing this method of pulling the action forward doesn't really sound like how you would talk to someone about this, then don't use it. It's a terrible thing to say after 20 minutes, but honestly, if it feels like you wouldn't do that, if you wouldn't sit down with a friend and go, oh my gosh, blah, 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 wait, let me tell you more. If you wouldn't do that, don't do this.
That's actually how I tell stories, so I backtrack.
Well, there you go. Yeah. But with any of the tools, if it doesn't feel like you, don't use it. That's true with almost everything ever.
Yeah. I love these tools because that's all I'm trying to do is like tell a story, and you're helping me become a better storyteller, and I really appreciate it and enjoy it. And like the tools you've been giving me are good, and I use them and I think about them, and so thank you.
Okay, I think our work here today is done. We are halfway through the season, which is crazy. We have 4 more of these coming up. Actually, 3 more of the Hawking pushy kind of things that I do, and then the final one that I know you're going to be ready for is the metrics one, where we're going to deep dive in all of your stuff.
Yes,
all of your analytics from social media, the podcast, the newsletter, and all that kind of stuff.
Yay! That's exciting.
So until then, April, where can people find Dorky Podcast?
Anywhere you can find your podcasts, any social media. I'm also at dorky.substack.com.
Podcast to Connect can be found on any podcast app, YouTube. Also, if you're interested in doing a 3-month tandem marketing push where I give you marketing challenges every time I see something that could be a little bit different that you're doing online and or with your podcast, feel free to go to stephfuccio.com and check out the information on that service. I will have the before and after text of the post that we work through in this episode in the newsletter, podcasttoconnect.substack.com. So go there so you can see the difference. And you can decide for yourself, is that a way of shaping some social media posts to intrigue, tease, invite your listeners to your content? Thank you so much, April.
Thank you, Steph.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later. Say bye.
Bye.
All right. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.